Hello guys, my name is Angela Escandon and I am going to be presenting with my group members Leslie Garcia, Belinda Carrizales, and Mark Munoz. We are going to be talking about the effects of supplement intake on both aerobic and anaerobic performance.
To start off, here's a timeline I constructed that talks about the effects of supplement intake on both aerobic and anaerobic performance. It starts off with supplements being utilized by athletes, soldiers, and even amateur athletes. The reason why it promotes gains in physical performance and or helps them maintain lean body. It can come as tablets, bars, powders, and liquid, among others. The use of supplements can be clouded by many ethical issues, especially in the context of professional games and competitions. Moving on to the next slide, I will be talking about supplements for high physical activities. Macronutrients and energy needs, like proteins and carbohydrates, are necessary during times of high physical exercises. Proteins and carbohydrates are necessary in a bid to ensure that the person is able to maintain their body weight. It builds and repairs damaged tissues, as well as replenishes glycogen stores. Fatigue and tiredness is also correlated to glycogen decreases in carbohydrate work as a substitute for the replenishment of glycogen reserves. A study found that carbohydrates and protein supplementation after exercise will result in improving the performance of an endurance athlete. The greater intake of carbohydrates assists endurance athletes will equalize and fulfill their energy requirements. Studies suggest that supplements such as carbohydrates consumed during exercise increase the oxidation. Moving on to the next slide, I will be going over resistant exercise training. Resistant exercise training combined with dietary protein supplementation is common with professional athletes, also recreational exercisers. It is mainly done with enhancing the gains acquiring through resistance exercise training, such as strength and muscle gains. Dietary protein supplements have been considered to be a potent anti-seropenic stimulus. A large volume of scholarly articles have yielded conflicting perspectives on the impact and effectiveness of protein supplementation in moving muscle mass and strength acquired through resistance training. Protein supplementation resulted in an increase of 1 rep max lift strength. The researchers found that with all the measures of 1 rep max included result in average strength increase by 27 kilograms with a standard deviation of 22 kilograms. These pieces of evidence therefore suggest that when the protein supplementation is done with resistance exercise training, it can result in a stimulation of muscle strength. In addition to muscle strength, protein supplementation with resistance training has also been found to result in an increase of fat-free mass. Engaging in resistance exercise training without supplementation for about 13 weeks can result in an increase of fat-free mass by 1.1 to 1.2 kilograms. However, note that the protein supplementation is more effective when it comes to improving fat-free mass in young exercisers when compared to older and untrained individuals.
So creatine is an organic compound that is produced naturally from reactions in the body from reactions that involve compounds such as amino acid, arginine, methionine, and glycine in the kidney and liver. Creatine is found naturally in muscle cells and it helps muscles produce energy during heavy lifting or high-intensity exercise. Effects of creatine. Taking creatine as a supplement provides a greater supply of phosphate to assist in boosting ATP and ATP, which increases endurance in sports performance. Creatine is used to enhance various characteristics of physical performance such as power activity and strength. In different studies, they have concluded that creatine plays a critical role in enhancing 1 repetition maximum strength, total work capacity, as well as increasing lean body mass. Creatine on aerobic and anaerobic exercises. In research studies, it was shown that participants who regularly took supplements were healthier and more energetic. During exercise, the time of duration of participants while performing aerobic exercise was better with creatine supplements as opposed to participants that did not consume creatine supplements beforehand. There was also a decrease in body weight and body fat. Overall, it was found that creatine is as beneficial for anaerobic exercises as it is for aerobic exercises.
Fat burners have been recognized as a form of weight loss supplements that allow one's body to break down all body fat found within the body. It is important for individuals to understand that fat burners are not meant to replace a diet and exercise plan. Fat burners target fat metabolism, increase one's ability to lose weight, increase fat oxidation, reduce fat absorptions, promote a faster metabolism, and boost all energy levels. A fat burner must be able to burn the fat that has been stored throughout the years, break down and move all fat cells to a different location, and increase one's metabolic rate. Fat burners are pre-exercise supplements that can result in health improvements with the help of proper exercising routines. Examples of fat burners include green tea, forskolin, caffeine, and carnitine. Possible negative effects may result in acute liver failure, acute hepatitis, and severe hemorrhage. The branched-chain amino acids, or BCAAs, are described as the body's building blocks. BCAAs are responsible for 40% of the human body's muscle mass. BCAAs are recognized as the essential amino acids for leucine, isoleucine, and valine. BCAAs are recognized as a common nutritional supplement for athletes and physically active individuals. BCAAs are a preferred source of nitrogen for glutamate synthesis, which is used to detoxify ammonia. BCAAs can cause insulin resistance if not consumed correctly.
Pre-workout is a supplement in which helps boost workout performances. It is second place in the rate of consumption usage. It mostly contains ingredients such as caffeine, amino acids, creatine, nitric oxide, and artificial sweeteners. To get the full benefit, it is recommended to consume it 30 to 60 minutes before workout. The reason for that is because that is how much it takes for caffeine levels to peak in the blood. Pre-workout on anaerobic performance. Pre-workout helps with delaying muscle fatigue, preserving muscle glycogen content, endurance, and increasing time to exhaustion. It increases strength and power performance by producing stronger muscle contractions. This is due to an increase in calcium in which is released from the sarcoplasmic reticulum and surge in nitric oxide concentration causing muscle contraction. Caffeine, being one of the main ingredients, acts as a central nervous system stimulant, which enhances catecholamine concentrations, promoting fat utilization, sparing intramuscular glycogen, causing a performance improvement. Pre-workout on anaerobic performance. Caffeine from the pre-workout is more beneficial in improving lower body muscle strength than upper body. Caffeine also helps have lower muscle pain perception during greater repetitions of failure exercise. It also helps have a better ability to maintain alertness, energy, and concentration during performance. Pre-workout on aerobic performance. It helps with delaying fatigue, reducing muscle pain, giving energy and power output. It helps reduce soreness, helping have a better aerobic performance during training and competition. In a study, research found that pre-workout was beneficial in a 164-kilometer cycling event, due that it lowered the soreness from the leg muscle during the 3-day of recovery. Pre-workout and aerobic performance. It is also beneficial to short-term aerobic performance due that it delays fatigue. In a study, research gathered 17 active women and men in which they participated in a sprint cycling performance and received either pre-workout or placebo 60 minutes before the sprint cycle. The effects of the pre-workout was that they did a faster time due to having less fatigue and more energy, which helped them maintain performance better than those who took the placebo.
I'm an associate professor in health and biomedical sciences. I'm also the program director for the nutritional sciences bachelor's program. And my background is very varied. but my interests have been on nutritional supplements and alternative medicine ever since I did my PhD. So on how the metabolism is affected because of these and how safe they are, because I'm sure all of us realize that alternative medicine and nutritional supplements do not have enough authentication, right? So you really cannot convince doctors or some people to really go ahead and prescribe certain things. And authentication is really very important. Scientific background and knowledge, including information on what the side effects could be, what the other kind of interactions that can be with the body when you take anything in orally. Response to that is you need to also assess what you are eating already, what kind of macronutrients you are eating, like carbohydrates, how much of carbs, how much of proteins, and how much of fats. And then you can exercise with that assessed, and if you are taking enough calories to sustain the exercise, then you're okay. But you can also start taking dietary supplements along with that. You don't have to do the supplements first, do it for a week or two before you do the exercises. Again, you have to go back to what kind of protein you're eating and also how much you are taking, because the amount of protein that you eat and the kind of protein that you eat will directly influence the creatinine output. Okay? That's one thing. And of course, it is also related to the different amino acids that you require. Now, the major concern would be if you are only taking vegetable proteins or proteins from fruits, and you're dependent on only fruit and vegetable proteins, because then you will be lacking certain amino acids that will be required for you to sustain when you're doing exercise, as well as to sustain your metabolic processes in general. Okay? Now, when it comes to fat burners, yes, now exercise itself will start using fat. Only the first, whatever ATP molecules you have stored and how much ever glycogen is already stored in the body will be used up in the initial part of your exercise, unless you're doing an exercise for 5 minutes. Even if you're doing it for 5 minutes, within the first minute or so, all your reserves will be used up. And then the next thing the body is looking for energy is the fat. But 5 minutes is too small a time to really see any big difference on losing fat. Okay? So if you do about 20 to 30 minutes exercise or 30 to 40 minute exercise, then there will be some amount of fat that is already burned. So you don't have to have a fat burner to stimulate that. Pre-workout and before workouts. The protein will definitely help before the workouts. And when you're doing the pre-workout per se, like for example, you're going to run 200 meters. So you are sprinting 5 minutes or 10 minutes before that and trying to keep your muscles warmed up for the actual activity. I think that is a good idea, but you should have consumed whatever you want to before that. Definitely. Anything in excess will be risky for the health. That's one thing. Now, all supplements I already told you, all supplements are not authenticated. I mean, when you go back and see the research that is completed, and not only with respect to what they do in the body, but how they affect the body's metabolic processes and bring about side effects also, is very limited for almost all known supplements. There are very few supplements that are completely worked out, and those are the ones picked up by the pharmaceutical industries to actually use in the drugs. So yes, anything in excess is bad, and things that do not have any scientific authentication is another problem. It's better that you have at least a few research articles that have been publishing about what really happens to this supplement when somebody consumes it. This one is how protein is metabolized when you're doing exercise, and you can see that you will actually be looking at more of the protein synthesis that is happening during resistance exercise. And it is opposite when you look at what happens during endurance exercise, because proteolysis is more after that. So when you're doing endurance exercise, I think after that consuming a little bit more protein would be more helpful, versus if you are doing a resistance exercise, then what you will be doing is taking limited amounts of protein after exercise. I would say before exercise is where you will need it when you're doing resistance type of exercises. When it comes to carbohydrates, okay, the classical way actually is something that was used in the past, where for 3 days you will be eating only 10% carbohydrates, but more after 3 days you'll be consuming 90% and slowly go on to reach almost 100%. But later on, it was figured out that, remember that glycogen is actually stored in the body because of this, right? Because of the carbohydrate we eat most of the time. That is how it is stored in the body. And excess to what can be stored as glycogen is what is stored as fat eventually. So based on that knowledge, later on there was a modified suggestion, and that is pretty much used also, that you eat 50% carbohydrates in the first 3 days, and then you increase it to 70%. So your glycogen now is getting stored from here, from day 1 itself, rather than from only day 3, where you're consuming only 10% carbohydrates. So you will have to be eating more of carbohydrates before the exercise compared to the protein, which would depend on the type of your exercise.